Hello, everybody. This is Samori Benjamin. Welcome. You will like what you see here an array of wide ranging sports topics. When you get the chance, please hit the subscribe button. Thank you. This show right here is being broadcast from City College, right? This beautiful studio that you all see is on the campus of City College in the middle of Harlem. And this is the home of the last New York City college basketball team to win the national championship, okay? Yes, you heard that right. I mean, some of you who are historians of the game and some of you who go back that far, you all know that City College won a national basketball championship for all of college basketball, and they are the last school in New York City to win college basketball national championship. And that happened in 1950. Unbelievable, right? That City College right here would have a national championship winner, college basketball. And we know that there was a gambling scandal in New York City college basketball, like shortly after that, which led to City College and other New York City basketball college powers to really go under and fold and never really be heard from again. Because NYU, in 1948, they were in the national championship game, and they lost. So NYU was a power at that time also? Yes. So 74 years since a college basketball team from New York City has won the national championship, and that's something that I probably should do a story or have a historian come on here and talk with us as we approach the NCAA tournament and the national championship game, which will take place about 3 weeks from now on a Monday. And it would be cool to have a historian that could come on here and talk to us about New York City basketball at that time, New York City college basketball, and just the basketball landscape and the playgrounds and in the city, right? And at that time, City College basketball was more popular than the Knicks. The Knicks had just begun in 1946-47, right? That season. And, right, so college basketball was something that had been going on for years before the NBA even came about. And so college basketball was the bigger deal in the country and in New York City. And yes, City College won a championship. And this week, we know, right, that if any team has a chance of winning a college basketball championship from New York City now, it's going to be St. John's University. They play in the Big East. The Big East tournament is something, as I said, my first time going there. And so St. John's, they really haven't been a legit contender to win a championship. They really haven't been a legit contender to win a championship in about 25 years now. And so in terms of the Big East tournament, and also, as I said before, college basketball is not really what it used to be because the great teams aren't there like they were in the past. The great stars are not there because the most talented players, they leave after 1 year. If they're even going to school, they might play for a minor league team for a year because you can't just come out of high school to go to the NBA. You used to be able to do that, but now there's a rule where you have to at least wait 1 year before you graduate to go to the NBA. But yeah, the top talented college kids, after 1 year, they're going pro to get that money. So it's just not the same. And that really started after that 1990s era. But college basketball, obviously, it's always going to be a huge deal. St. John's, if they had been a team that they had not been to the semifinals of this Big East tournament since 2000. I mean, that's almost unfathomable, right? This is New York City, and this is supposed to be the basketball mecca, the place where basketball is the best and played the best, and yada, yada, yada. We know, right? It's supposed to have a lot of great ballers. There have been a lot of great ballers who have come out of New York City. But dang, college basketball, we haven't had a championship in 75 years, 1950. And the Knicks, we know, have not won a championship since 1973, okay? Even the New York Liberty, the WNBA began in 1997. The New York Liberty still are the only original WNBA franchise to never win a championship. And they came close early in their existence. They were in 3 of the first 4 WNBA finals, and they did not win. And they were in, 4 of the first 6 seasons. They were in it again in 2002, lost again. And then they didn't get back to the finals 21 years until this past year. And they were beat by a great Las Vegas Aces team who went back-to-back for the first time in about 21 years. And the last time a team went back-to-back, when they won that second of the back-to-back, it was the Los Angeles Sparks against the New York Liberty, right? So New York City basketball has just had it tough, right? And this is, right, Madison Square Garden. That's where, and here's the thing, folks. Here's the thing, too, that is crazy about it, because Madison Square Garden is a place where you talk to all these basketball people, the people who play, the pros, the former pros, the college people. You ask them, your favorite place to play, Madison Square Garden, Madison Square Garden. All these people say that, right? But then you just look at St. John's University, okay? And you would think that they would be able to get a group of talented kids and have a basketball power, right? At some point, at least. Because look, where do they play their home games, all right? Especially when they are good. They play at Madison Square Garden, right? All right, so you have everybody who you ask, who you talk to, when they're in the Garden. I talk to them, ask these people. I've been asking them for years, all right, their thoughts on Madison Square Garden. There's been times when I've asked people, okay, Madison Square Garden, is this hype, or do you really, or like what, or is Madison Square Garden really an arena where you want to be at and where you really look forward to playing? And they're like, no, it's not hype, it's the real deal. Like, I'm talking to people from other countries, and they're like, you hear about Madison Square Garden from the time you're a kid and all this, and that's where I always wanted to play. All these people tell me this, right? I have interviews out there on social media, and when I asked anyone about their thoughts on Madison Square Garden, oh, it's the best place to play, it's so great, it's so iconic. So you would think that St. John's would be able to recruit at some point a group of kids who are highly talented, some of the top talented kids in the country, and have them come to St. John's and have a dominant team, a special team, and listen, they would be big in New York City. If New York City had a team that was top 5 in the country, top 10 in the country, what? They would be, these kids would be big in New York City, right? And so that's the one thing that I just never really been able to grasp, and I understand, I get it. I get all the other reasons, and I may get into it today, may not, but it's very interesting, right? Because, well, look, you have these other schools where they have bigger campuses and all that, and I get that, but Madison Square Garden, New York City, and here's the thing, all right, and they're there, and we believe that they could be on the way there because of who their head coach is right now. Rick Pitino, okay? He is a coaching legend, okay? He is definitely a college basketball legend, coaching legend. he coached the Knicks in the late 80s, and they were good, okay, with Rick Pitino. And then he had a power struggle with management, and he ended up leaving the Knicks, and he went to University of Kentucky, and he had great success there, had powerhouse teams there, and one of his biggest stars ever at Kentucky in college basketball, period, because Rick Pitino won 2 championships in college. He won 1 at Louisville, and that was after Kentucky. So Kentucky first in 96, and then they were in the championship game in 97, and 97 again, and lost in 97 to Arizona. Okay, and then Rick Pitino left, went to coach Boston Celtics, and then came back to the college and coached Louisville, and won in 2013, all right? Yes, in 2013 with Louisville. But arguably his biggest star he ever had is from Harlem, okay? From the Polo Grounds. Jamal Mashburn, okay? Monster Mash, okay? He led Kentucky to the Final Four in 93. They played against Chris Webber and the Fab Five, okay? Jamal Mashburn from the Polo Grounds. Rick Pitino got him from the Polo Grounds. So, okay, now St. John's has Rick Pitino. So you would think, you would hope. I mean, because I feel like Rick Pitino, folks, is St. John's last hope to having any kind of legit, serious, contending team to, dare I say, I mean, what sounds more ridiculous? The Knicks winning a championship or St. John's winning a championship? I mean, because both of them, like, dare I say, both of them play at the Garden, and it's been rough. It's been rough the last 25 years or so, you know? But St. John's, I mean, I feel like Rick Pitino is their last hope to have a team that one day in my lifetime maybe might see St. John's win a championship. As I said, the last time a New York City basketball college team won a championship, 1950, right here where I'm sitting at in City College. All right, City College was the last New York City team to win a championship. All right? Unbelievable. So Pitino in his first year this year, and look, he and his team have inspired me to talk St. John's basketball right here this morning, because you all have not heard me talk much St. John's basketball, any St. John's basketball, even though I spoke about them a little bit last week, right? Because I was telling you all I'm going to be going to the Big East tournament, and it's going to be my first time there. So, you know, I actually spoke about St. John's a little bit last week. And Rick Pitino, he inspired me to do that because, as I said, this was the first time that St. John's made the semifinals of the Big East tournament since 2000. And St. John's has not won an NCAA tournament game since 2000, okay? They only made the NCAA tournament 4 times since 2000, and they're hoping that today they'll have a 5th time added to that in Pitino's first season, okay? And 2000, all right, and the year before, 1999, those are the 2 best St. John's teams that I remember. I was a little bit too young for the 1985 St. John's team, the only St. John's team to make it to the Final Four, okay? And, right, the only time St. John's has made it to the Final Four, 1985, and they play in the Big East. So they have, if they had ever had a powerhouse or a collection of some really, I mean, St. John's had the chance to get to a Final Four playing in the Big East. And that team had Chris Mullin, okay, a Hall of Famer, Mark Jackson, who he is at the top of the all-time NBA assist leaders. He's not number 1. He is somewhere in the top 3, I believe, okay? And he, of course, he started his career with the Knicks after playing for St. John's. And Mark Jackson last week, all right, I think it was last week where I played the report with him. It might have been 2 weeks ago when he was the coach with the Golden State Warriors and coaching Stephen Clay. And we were I was talking with him and Stephen Clay. And so Mark Jackson is a legend. And also Walter Berry, all right, another guy. Also, someone who I spoke with earlier in the year, interviewed him at Madison Square Garden, was on that St. John's team. Bill Winnington, all right? So, only time St. John's has made the Final Four, and I thought that I was going to see them make the Final Four before this new millennium that we're in, okay? And at the start of it, because in 99, and here's the thing, as I said last week, right? You had the Malik Sealy teams with St. John's in the early 90s and all that, and they were okay. They were better than any of the St. John's teams since 2000, okay? But they still weren't really a team that you thought could win a championship, right? Now, the St. John's teams in 99, but after Malik Sealy, there was this whole big phenomenon, all right, that took place in Harlem at Rice High School, folks. You all remember that? All right? What, 93, 94, 95, all right? Felipe Lopez, okay? The Dominican Michael Jordan. I mean, he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated at that time, which was huge, okay? And him, he was clearly a McDonald's All-American. That was when the McDonald's All-American game was huge, all right? It was big, big, big. And he went to St. John's with another McDonald's All-American from Long Island, okay? And that was Zindon Hamilton, okay? The big man. And you thought that it was built like they were going to come and take St. John's to great heights. And that is not what happened. And Felipe Lopez, him and Zindon, they played 4 years for St. John's. But the Big East, as I said last week, the Big East was a beast, okay? You had Georgetown, Iverson, Villanova, Kerry Kittle, Syracuse, John Wallace, of course, UConn, Ray Allen, okay, Donnie Marshall. The talent was phenomenal, okay? Kevin Ollie, who is now the Nets head coach. Providence with Sham God and Austin Crozier, Eric Williams. There were just so many, and that was the Big East. And we're talking about the Big East tournament in St. John's at that. So with Felipe, I mean, it was just like, and Felipe is someone who I've met. I used to see Felipe for years, and really cool guy. We used to always talk and embrace when we saw each other at Madison Square Garden, because after he retired from the NBA, he had a job with the NBA. He was doing something. So I would see him there for years. And we would always, like I said, greet each other and have a little quick talk. But yeah, when he was at St. John's, it wasn't, they did not live up to the hype in terms of what they were supposed to be for the school. And they did not even make the NCAA tournament until his final year at St. John's when he was a senior, and as I said last week, right? So that was when his senior year and Zindon Hamilton's senior year, that was Ron Artest's freshman year at St. John's. This is the 1997-98 season, okay? And that was the only time that they made it to the tournament, NCAA tournament, with Felipe and Zindon. Then the next year, when they were gone, Ron Artest's second season, his sophomore season, St. John's was, all right, that season and the next season are the only 2 seasons in my lifetime, that I can remember, because 85, I was too young for that, all right, only teams in my lifetime, right, they had a chance to legitimately contend for a national championship. Eric Barkley was the point guard. Boosie Thornton, they had. LeVar Postel, okay? And Ron, head coach Mike Jarvis, all right? He was Patrick Ewing's head coach in high school in Massachusetts. And he was phenomenal. Phenomenal. I love Mike Jarvis. I have to see if I can get him for an interview, because he was phenomenal. And then the next year, right? So that year, in 1999, St. John's, I believe they played UConn in the Big East tournament final and lost that year, I believe, in 99. And then the NCAA tournament, and they make a run. I remember them playing Steve Francis. And we're going to have my man Ray Rogers coming up in about 3 minutes, all right? Our HBCU insider. He's from the D.C., Maryland, Virginia area. He covers all that. And we're going to talk about D.C. ball players and New York ball players because he sent me a video of his on YouTube where he was discussing with the head coach, I believe, of University of Maryland Eastern Shore, and they were talking about, and Ray said that his starting five from D.C. is better than any starting five that the head coach from Maryland Eastern Shore, who is from New York City, but he coaches Maryland Eastern Shore. Ray said he could give a top five ball players from D.C. that's better than what we have here. And so Ray's coming on soon, so we're going to talk with Ray about that. But one of the guys who he has in his top point guard from D.C., Steve Francis. And that's who St. John's went up against in the Elite Eight in 1999, okay? The last time they got to the Elite Eight, they went up against Steve Francis and University of Maryland. And St. John's and Ron Artest, they beat Steve Francis in Maryland, and then that was the Sweet 16. Then in the Elite Eight, the St. John's played Ohio State, and it's interesting because I was just talking with Jim Jackson. He was an Ohio State great. He's now a broadcaster with several networks, Fox Sports, TNT, covering college basketball and the NBA. He was a star at Ohio State, played in the Final Four earlier in the early 90s. So in 99, okay, Jim Jackson is in the pros, but St. John is playing Ohio State in the Elite Eight. And Ohio State, who do they have on that team? Michael Redd, okay, who went on to be an all-star with the Milwaukee Bucks. He played on the Redeem team, 2008 Olympic basketball team. 2008, Michael Redd, he was on Ohio State, and they had a point guard, Scooney Penn, who played for University of Pennsylvania a couple years before that in the tournament when Pennsylvania was in there. And St. John's loses a close game against Ohio State in the Elite Eight. The next year, St. John's, without Artest left, he went pro, and the Knicks could have drafted him. They did not. They drafted Frederick Weiss, who never played a game for the Knicks, and Vince Carter jumped over his head in the 2000 Olympics, and that probably scared him to come to the NBA, but I don't know. I read a story about him a couple of years ago, and the whole thing was broken down, and he spoke about how Van Gundy never really wanted him and never gave him a chance, but I don't know. Anyway, so then 2000, the Knicks, St. John's loses. Okay, so, folks, we're going to bring on my man Ray Rogers.